Today's video is going to be the first follow-up on the artist Q&A that I put up a few weeks ago, and it's basically me answering questions that you've asked. And before we get started, I want to say I was really impressed and really surprised, first of all, with the number of replies that I got. That anybody cares is amazing to me. But even more so than the amount of responses was the depth of the questions, and a lot of them were super insightful, like deep. I kind of expected maybe, what is your favorite food or that kind of thing. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I got some really deep, insightful, meaningful questions that kind of touched me a little bit. So my initial plan was to just go ahead and do one follow-up and go through all the questions and wrap it up like that. And I very soon realized that was not going to be possible because there are so many of them, and like I said, the quality of the questions deserve a more in-depth response. And so what I'm going to do is break this up into however many parts it takes me to get through all the questions, and I'm going to answer to the best of my ability with as much candor and honesty as I can, and we'll just take this as they come. It'll probably end up being a multi-part series based on how long it takes me to get through these. So today we'll just start with the first couple. I'll just go through the questions in order that they were posted, and we'll see if we can get to all of them, and hopefully this can be maybe a little bit entertaining, maybe a little bit helpful, maybe give you some insight into my mind or the mind of a working artist, and hopefully we can get to know each other a little bit better. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first question is from Ben Liu. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. He asks, what does dark art mean to you personally? And is there a piece of art that scared you when you were creating it? So that's an interesting one. Let's get to the dark art question first. I think more so than the subject matter or something being bloody or gory or fitting like a prototypical horror thing, I feel like dark is more of a state of mind or an expression. All of my art is an expression of the way I feel and the way that I am, where I'm at emotionally at the time. So it just happens that it usually comes out the way it does, but I never set out to do dark art in particular. It's just, that's my expression, that's who I am. So I think dark art, you have traditional dark art, which is people like Paul Booth or Bob Tyrrell or any number of, like Vincent Locke, these are some of my heroes in the art world. So you have like the subject matter, that aspect of it, which can make it dark. But to me, it's more of the feeling or the emotion behind a piece. I've seen a lot of like landscapes or fantasy pieces, but the feeling can be very melancholy, or like, I've seen like fantasy pieces before where it's just like a bleak landscape, and there might not be any blood in it or any horror in it or any traditionally themed dark themes in it, but the feeling of the piece is somber and dark, and it might evoke a feeling of loneliness or sadness, and that to me makes something dark. So I guess it's in the eye of the beholder, but that's what dark means to me. It's just more of a feeling and a sense of where the artist is when they're creating the piece. Something has more to do with the mood than the actual subject matter. And then the second part to Ben's question was there ever a piece that scared me while I was creating it? And see, that's the kind of question I didn't necessarily expect to get. That's a really deep question. The answer is yeah, believe it or not. Sometimes, because art is, like I said, an expression, at least for me, of the interior, a lot of times it's different if I'm doing a commission and somebody wants something very specific, like a portrait or something like that. But if I'm working on a piece of my own, it's almost all coming from just how I'm feeling. And even if I have a starting point in mind, sometimes the piece will completely morph into something else, and at that point it's almost out of my control. It's like a being into itself. And you can probably relate to this. You know, you guys are artists out there. I'm assuming most of you are. There's a point where the piece kind of takes over, and it's more the piece is painting itself or drawing itself or whatever, and you're almost along for the ride. And sometimes when I get into stuff like that, and I'm in the middle of a piece and I'm not consciously thinking about where I'm going with it, I look later on at what's come out. And there are times when I wonder if, you know, something is a little off in my brain. And funny story, actually, I was at a convention one time, and I had a couple of older ladies, and I remember they would walk by the booth a few times, kind of looking at me, you know, so all my stuff is on display. And so at the end of the show, when everything starts calming down and you start packing up to leave, I remember they came back to my booth. I'll never forget this. And they were both dressed up as zombies, so they were like in the full horror theme, so they're not averse to, you know, this kind of work. But I remember they came back and they looked at me, and even in their full horror garb and everything, they very sincerely bent over my table and said to me quietly, "Are you okay?" And that, I don't know, that was a trip. Like, I took it as a compliment because I guess my art had that kind of an impact to where they thought something was askew up in my brain. I don't know. The art, to me, I never put a filter on what comes out, how extreme it is. It's never a point that I'm trying to consciously be extreme or to offend somebody, but at the same time, you know, I've had a difficult life and I'm a dark person, and yeah, there are times when I look, it's usually when I have some distance from the piece and I look back at it later on and I go, you know, there's some screwy stuff going on there. But like I said, I don't filter it, you know. To be honest to the work and honest to art, you can't filter yourself. Whatever the expression is and whatever comes out, comes out. I don't ever want to limit myself by saying, you know, this might offend somebody, or this might be too extreme, or, you know, this might even upset me a little bit. To me, then the art is disingenuous. It's not a real expression. I don't ever want there to be anything inside my brain when I'm working. I don't want there to be any filter or any block to anything that might come out. So yeah, there have been times when I look back and I wonder, you know, if I was okay at the time. But I'm an extreme person. I like that. To me, the more extreme the work is, the more powerful. I want people, and I know this is cliche, but this really is how it is with me. I want people either to love it or be so disgusted by it that it offends them. The best thing at a show, when I'm at a show sometimes, people walk by and I can see some people love it, and then other people, I can see the expression in their face when they first see some of my stuff, and I can tell, like, you know, takes them aback a little bit at first, but I enjoy that reaction almost more than people that come to the booth and, you know, engage in a positive way, because to me it means that it must, even if they don't like it, it must be affecting them in some kind of way. So yeah, that's basically what I have to say about that. This is from Lost in Obscurity, and the question is, do you get anxiety about posting videos? Are you ever afraid of judgment from people in your personal life? I'm so afraid of what people will think of me. It makes it so hard to post the things that I do and impossible for me to branch out and try doing other things that I'd like to do. Do you have any tips that might help with that? So to address the first part of that question, do I get anxiety about posting videos? Yes and no. More so now, I would say no. When I first started, I did. I am not naturally an extrovert. When I started the YouTube channel, it was never, if you look back, the first like 6 videos were all time-lapse videos. I started the channel to be like just a traditional career vehicle, like most of you, you know, to just share my work, and I enjoyed making time lapses, and I thought it would be a good way to promote myself. I never intended to be in front of the camera, genuinely. I never wanted attention. I like to be that stereotypical, loner artist that sits behind his art table in his little cave and nobody sees me. That really would be fine with me. But now that it's started and I've started the community stuff, I do enjoy doing the talking and the camera stuff because I know it helps people. So when I first started, a lot of anxiety, yes. It's difficult on your end. On my end, I'm looking at a lens with you get no input, so it's all one way. So that at first is weird, trying to figure out where to look, because if I look at the lens, my eyes look weird. Then if I look, at the actual viewfinder, then your eyes go that. So, there are a lot of technical things, and I don't proclaim to be an expert or great at it, but, once you kind of figure some of those things out, the anxiety dissipates a little bit. But more what it is the community here and the people. And the more I posted videos and the more we created and fostered this community, and I realized this was a positive place, the less anxiety I had about it. And honestly too, the more you do anything, the more comfortable you get with it. And honestly, I just don't give a crap what people think about me. I really don't. The negative people will always be there, the trolls will always be there, but I just don't care. So the videos have become almost like a therapeutic kind of thing for me. I like to come back here, especially now that I have my home studio where I'm in my own comfort and my own safe spot. They were a little bit uncomfortable when I was in my studio downtown, which was a public building and everything. I felt a little self-conscious, but here at home, no anxiety about posting videos. I've come to enjoy it, actually. If you watch any of the videos from the very beginning of the channel, I never tried or pretended to be anything other than what I actually am. Sometimes I'm in a great mood, sometimes I'm in a little bit of a down mood. I try not to post anymore if I'm not in a great mood. But at the same time, I don't scream at the camera, and that's nothing against high energy people. I know a lot of people, it's their natural personality. For me, that's not who I am. I never tried to be that. And so I think if in the beginning I had set up this persona of, super high energy and off the wall and doing all, if I had done that in the beginning and then I would have had to keep that up with every video and it's not who I am, that would have caused a lot of stress and anxiety. But I just sit down, turn the lights on and talk basically. So it's it's easy for me at this point, I think. And then the second part of her question addresses her anxiety with posting and sharing her things because of judgment. And I get it, I totally get it, especially when it comes to something as personal as your art, which is just an extension of your heart and your soul. It's tough. I mean, there's no easy answer to that. What I can say is that the more you do it and the more confident you become in your own work, in your own self, the less the negative stuff will mean to you. And the more you post, the more normal it will become for you. And this is something that I can share with you too about not just YouTube, but about going to shows and conventions and all that kind of stuff. It's absolutely nerve-wracking at first, but once you do it a few times and get your work out there a few times, and you start realizing that the world isn't going to end, and even if you get some negative feedback, as long as it's constructive, you can even grow and learn from that. So I would, first of all, I would say too, if you don't want to be in front of the camera, don't be in front of the camera. You don't have to be somebody that vlogs or talks or does personal stuff. If you're not comfortable with it, don't do it. That would be my first thing. If you are comfortable with it, I do think it helps in the context of YouTube, because the more people can connect with you on a personal level, the easier it is for them to connect with your art and become involved with the other things that you're doing. If you're talking about sharing your artwork, my confidence came from years and years and years of working at my craft and getting my art up to a level where I feel like, you know, I can be alongside my peers and not feel self-conscious. So there's, you know, that part of it, getting your work up to a level which is just time and effort and work. And once you get to a certain level, other people's opinions become less important. I would suggest just do a quick intro, whatever you're comfortable with. Share a little bit about yourself. Film the video and film it with the intent that you're going to post it, and, you know, set up your lighting, set up your background. And when you're filming it, when you're done, if you're uncomfortable after you've filmed it, then don't post it. Just delete it. But to get in front of the camera, and you can say to yourself, okay, I'm going to make this video and post it, but in the back of your mind, you don't have to. You can always just delete the video or put it, you know, in your folder or something on the computer. That takes the pressure off. Then you can get in front of the camera and talk and share some stuff with people. And if you're not comfortable sharing it, then don't. But that'll at least get you past the first hurdle of getting in front of the camera and getting comfortable starting the process. And yeah, it's just like anything in life. The more you do it, the more you put yourself out there, the more comfortable you'll get, and build that confidence. The foundation for the confidence is the work that you put into your craft. So build your craft up, get your work up to a level where it's high enough to where you can feel that level of confidence, and then you can start putting yourself out there little by little. Wonderful questions. I think that'll probably do it for this Q&A. And I will sit down here in a few more days and address the next few questions. I'll just go through in order. I think I only got to the first 2 today, so this will probably end up being a long series, but this is cool. I'm enjoying this, and I hope that you're getting something out of it. And I thank you all who sent me a question. I thank you for the time and obvious thought and effort that you put into those questions. And I hope that my answers can provide some mild entertainment and maybe some a little bit of knowledge, and I hope that they can help. So until the next Q&A follow-up, I will see you soon.